All right, traders, we are already off to a phenomenal start into the trading week. I ended up trading my plan to an exact T and then calling it for the day. The plan was to buy call options on SPY when it drops to $390 with bullish confirmation once it fills the gap. As you can see right here in terms of key levels in the pre-market watch list within Trader Society, I made it very, very clear to my team that there was an oversold gap at $390. This is where we're going to be buying calls. The max pain is going to be $389. I also said it's going to be very ideal for calls as we still have a gap to fill at 396, right? So what they're going to try to do is, as we addressed in yesterday's trading plan video, they're going to try to fill this gap right here at 390. And then once it fills this gap at 390, once it hits this white line, it's going to try to reverse, and then it's going to start to fill this gap at $396. And that is exactly what ended up happening. And did I trade my plan? Yes, I traded my plan. As you can see in Will Alerts, this is where I alert my best setups at the best prices, my real-time alerts at 9:38 a.m., literally the exact low of day on SPY. I alerted calls and I sold those calls. I bought them when they were barely out of the money, and I sold them in the money, and I made a very nice profit return on that. So with that being said, I'm going to teach you the strategy that we're using to consistently buy call options when SPY is at the lows. I'm going to show you how we're able to identify the low of day the day before it happens. We're also able to identify the high of day when it happens, right? So I'm going to prepare you for the next bull and bear traps because this plan worked 100% spot on to a T. We were expecting a bear trap to be created at $390, and if not, I told you 385 to 387. And look at this, we went even lower in the pre-market, and that's where the true bear trap was created in the pre-market, and you could trade during extended hours. What did I tell you guys? A bear trap is going to be created this week at 390. If not, then 385 to 387 zone, and then it's going to explode back up to fill that gap. And there's a gap to fill at 396, and it almost filled that gap today already. It hit $394, right? We have this gap to fill, as you can see right here, at 396. So here's the deal. I'm going to prepare you to trade the best setups, best prices. We have another amazing trading plan coming up. Right now, we are in the middle of the channel. So what we're going to call this is Battle of the Gaps. We're going to call this Battle of the Gaps. We still technically have a gap to fill at $390. It did not fill. It partially filled. I ended up buying calls into the partial gap close reversal because I used confirmations that this was bullish. I'm not going to nickel and dime the setup. You can even see right here, this is a great confirmation. I bought this right here. In terms of that, you can see it had a nice spike. I sold into the spike. If it drops back down and bounces and forms a bullish wick, that's confirmation to get back in. It's double bottoming. That's all bullish confirmations that are going to continue to run. We were all long biased and all bullish. There was many people, even Mohammed. Big shout out to Mohammed within the chat. He's a new member. He's mastering the dark pools. He even said this is going to $394 today. We were all long biased into the morning and we crushed it. And I stayed away from and avoided puts because I'm waiting for puts at $396 towards the higher gap, best setups at best prices. In terms of calls, I'm focusing on the lower oversold level, and then when it breaks out and retests the support, I buy calls again, and I don't keep on milking it and chasing it. So in terms of tomorrow, what you need to understand is another great trading plan is coming up, but you need to understand where we are in terms of the market. We are in terms of the middle of the gaps. We still have a gap to fill at 390, and we still have a gap to fill at 396. It's going to try to have short-term scalp reversals where a bull trap gets created at 396 and you scalp puts, and a bear trap gets created at 390 like it already did and we banked on, and you scalp calls. It's still going to try to do that, but you have to get in and out and do not hold these very, very long. So that's the main focus. But you need to understand in terms of where we are before that, we are sitting in the middle. In the middle is going to be a battle, and it's going to be the battle of the gaps in terms of, well, which gap is going to fill first? Is the gap from 396 going to fill first, or is the gap from 390 going to fill first? Trading the middle is not ideal because the risk to return ratio is not as high. If I buy at 390, this can go to 396. If I short at 396, this can go to 390. But if I buy or short at 390, 350 in the middle, then that means I have a lot less reward and there's more risk if there's less reward involved. It's not the best price at the best setup. So understand that if you're going to be trading at this level. But this is a key level, 393.50. It's not 100% the best price, but it is a key level. Based off of my understanding, the best thing for you guys to focus on is buying puts at 396.11 and buying calls at $390. Now, in terms of a more advanced analysis, which is not the best analysis, but I believe this is going to be very, very well for tomorrow. We have to use confirmations and see, but just to understand we're in the middle. Based off of what I'm seeing, it's going to try to fill the gap from 396. That's what it's going to try to do. It's going to try to fill that gap from 396 before it goes back to 390, in my opinion, right? That's what I think is personally going to happen. One of the reasons why I believe it's going to go down that way is I'm seeing very similar patterns. And again, this does not matter. We're towards the middle. Trade the best prices, 396 and 390. Professionals have to trade. They could try to attempt to trade towards the middle with lighter size. But based off what I'm seeing now, I'm seeing something like this. We have this green, red, green. It's going to try to spike and fill the gap. It's going to try to break out, right? We have something similar like this. You have these 3 green candles, and then the next day it explodes, right? So I'm seeing some similar patterns at some similar prices, and this is what I'm going to be very blunt about in terms of tomorrow. If you see 393.74 turn into a support level, 393.74 support, it breaks above 394, it's bullish, it's going to explode up, and it's going to fill the gap at 396. That's what I believe is going to happen if they can form a floor at 393.74. As long as they are holding this above 393.50, 393.74, it's going to go super bullish to fill the gap at 396. Then what do I think is going to happen from there? In terms of what I think is going to happen from there, I think we're going to see a reversal in between the zone of 397. You have previous support right here that has not been tested, and then you have a gap at 396. I think we're going to see a small short-term reversal, a short-term crash in between the levels of 396.11 and 397 for puts, right? And you just get in and you get out. So if I'm trading options and SPY goes like $1 in my favor, say I'm buying calls at 390 and it spikes to 391, I'm usually just selling. I take my profits and then I just call it for the day. If you want to ride the trend, you wait for it to break out again if it's a bullish trend, and then you buy when it retests back to the previous resistance. You scalp, previous resistance turns into support, right? That's the game. But you don't keep on milking it, right? So that's what I think is going to happen. So in terms of tomorrow, I would focus on 393.50 to 393.74. If it reacts bullish, you see it forming a floor, you can scalp calls very, very quickly. The max pain on calls is going to be below 392.50. 392.50 is absolute max pain on calls. If it drops below 392.50, they try to flip the trend bearish and they fill the gap at 390. That's the new best level for 390 in terms of calls, right? So this is a very, very simple day, folks. It's going to try to go bullish. It's going to try to fill the gap from 396. Then it's going to try to crash from 396 and 397. Then after it crashes, it's going to try to bounce towards the gap again. So basically what I can see happening is something like today, where it bottoms at the gap and the new gap's at 393.74. So it bottoms at 393.74, right around there. And then it breaks out, it fills the gap from 396. It might go to 397 as well. And then it sells back off towards the gap, and then it reverses back up. I could see the same exact thing happening today. In terms of what happening today, I could see the same thing happening in terms of what happened today for tomorrow. I could see something very similar, right? But you have to trade the charts and you have to trade what you see. If I see bearish confirmations at 393.74, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not looking to get into puts. I don't want to get puts in the middle. I want my puts at 396, 397 in terms of best setups at best prices, right? So in terms of puts, 396, 397. In terms of calls, 390. In terms of the middle play, based off of what I'm seeing right now, I believe the bulls are going to win the middle, and they're going to try to form a floor at 393.70. But if it does not form a floor, it does not form support, and it goes to 392.50, then it's bearish, and I sit on the sidelines, right? I have to use bullish confirmations. We're towards the upper middle, so it's not going to be as ideal, but that's what I could see happening. But that really doesn't matter. What matters is how the stock reacts and how the price action looks and how the candlesticks are forming, right? But in terms of a day in advance, that's what I'm seeing happening. And in terms of what I know for certainty, puts in between 396 to 397, calls at $390. Right now we're in the middle. I believe the bulls are going to try to win the middle. It doesn't matter what I believe. It matters how the market reacts to those key levels that I'm watching. So again, my three best levels, 396, 397 zone for puts, 393.74 make or break. If it forms support at that level, you see bullish wicks, you see support forming. It's going to be a nice little scalp for calls for a breakout into the gap. If it reacts as a resistance, I'm just going to stay away from it. I don't want puts that low. And then in terms of best level for calls, 390. Super simple day, guys. Super simple day. And you don't have to trade 390 to 374. You could just wait for the best levels to trade again. You don't have to trade at 390, 374, but that will be a key level to watch no matter what. Understand it's towards the upper middle. Risk to reward is not going to be as good. Got to rock tight stop losses. So what I can tell people is if you're looking at this bullish pattern, look for something like this where the SPY breaks above 390, 374. It's forming a floor at the previous closing price, and then you see it go above 394. It's bullish. It's going to rocket to 396, 397, sell into the spike, right? If it's not bottoming at the previous closing price, this bullish pattern is not going to repeat, and they're going to try to rug it to 392.50 to 390, and then you buy calls at 390 again, right? That's what I would tell people. Focus on 390, 374. And focus on 390 and focus on 390, 611 based off of how the daily chart looks. If we were to ignore tomorrow's pre-market and stuff like that, based off how the daily looks, it looks like 390, 374 and 396, 397 will be the key levels for tomorrow to keep an eye on. But we still have to pay attention, see how it reacts. If it reacts bearish at 390, 374, no reason for calls, and then we buy calls at 390. Super simple day. The bear trap is happening like I expected, and tomorrow is going to be another phenomenal green day. If you want to join us and be a part of Traders Society, it's the first link down below in the description, guys. There is nobody within this trading industry who is preparing you to trade the best setups at the best prices and giving you the exact low of day and high of day for the SPY. Nobody's doing it. And it's because we're using this unique gap trading strategy. And I want you to master this strategy, and you can master that within Traders Society. You get access to the full education video lesson library with over 100 hours of video lessons and live streams. You also get access to live trading streams, voice channels. You get access to the SPY floor, the moderators within the SPY floor. There's so much more to it. And for those of you who are within Trader Society, who are members of Trader Society, we now have our first official professor. It is a service within Trader Society that you have to pay extra for. But this guy's absolutely crushing it, man. He's been here for over a year now, and this is our first official professor, Steven Top G. And he just launched his new program within Trader Society. We've partnered on this, and he already has 55 people going green on his first day and only 7 people red. And the team is absolutely crushing it within his chat room as well. He alerted puts at the exact top at 394, which is something I would have never thought of personally. But big shout out to him, man, because he crushed it on his first day teaching within Trader Society. He's been teaching here for free for over a month live streaming, and he's been here for over a year making people money and delivering value. So there's a lot of opportunity within Trader Society. And if you want to be a part of this program, it's going to be that first link down below in the description. But yeah, man, we absolutely crushed it, man. It's all here. The alerts are alerted real time. The polls on the team as a whole, 66 green, 11 red in terms of my program. And then in terms of his program, we have 55 people green already and 7 red. We're absolutely crushing it, man. We are the ones who are going to show you how to master the SPY. So if you want to learn how to master one simple thing, trading the SPY, trading options, this is the place for you. One tip I can give small accounts is just trade one contract. Think about it like this. You have a cash account. You have one contract, right? What's your cash account? You can make multiple trades on the day, and you're growing small. And then if you have a couple weeks of consistency, right? So say you're scalping SPY in and out, you're not, you can bypass the PDT rule because you have a cash account with options, right? You can make a couple trades a day, right? You're trading cheaper contracts, right? With a small account, think about it like this. You're getting in and out, you're making like 10, 20, 30 cents a contract, and say you're paying $2 for the contracts. Some time goes by, you're consistent, you're doing well. A couple weeks, that adds up to having 2 contracts. And then it adds up to having 4 contracts, and then 8 contracts, 16, 20, but you got to start somewhere. Build one contract at a time. Grow your small account by starting with one contract, add it up 10, 20, 30 cents. You make 10 good trades, you have a couple small losses, it adds up to another contract. Then you're trading with 2 contracts, then you scale to 4, then you scale to 8. You have to start small and compound, just trade one contract. Think about it like that. If you're going all in with multiple contracts, it's not going to work. You're going to blow up the account, right? So if you want to get started with compounding your account and growing, this is the program for you. We have the expertise. We have a new professor, and he's showing how to build small accounts as well. There's so much opportunity to create wealth by trading SPY. It has the most liquidity. It is the most predictable within the market. And I would strongly encourage you to focus on trading the unique gap trading strategies with the SPY, along with focusing on the mastering the price action, right? I have the greatest trading plans in terms of the SPY, but in order for me to trade them, I need to have some sort of price action, right? I need to learn how to trade price action. I need to learn confirmations. These are things that you have to learn as a trader. You can't just blindly trade based off of a plan. If it's not forming a floor or a roof at my levels, then I avoid it. But this right here, I mean, this is a phenomenal confirmation to get back into calls, which is why I decided to get back into calls later in the day, because it bounced right off the gap. I bought calls right here at the lows, and then I sold into the rip, because that's what I do. I sell quick. I bought my calls out of money under 391, and then I sold them into the money quickly. That's what I do. I buy out of money, sell in the money very, very quickly. I go with the closest strike to at the money, and then it drops right back down. And then if it drops back down and pumps again, I'm going to get back in, because that double bottom's bullish with a wick. I'm going to buy back in. I bought back in. I did very, very well on those. And then I called it for the day. I told people, all right, the best setups have, my plan has played out. You could have done it twice. We're going to call it for the day. The trend's bullish. It's going to try to fill the gap. If you want to continue to trade the trend, wait for it to break above resistance. And then when it drops back to resistance, you buy calls, right? Previous resistance reacts to support. So right here, this is resistance 392.50. It breaks above 392.50, goes to 393, it drops back to previous resistance. It reacts to support because the trend's bullish. And then you buy calls into that dip, and then it spikes and you sell into the spike. But you don't want to keep on milking it, and you don't have to keep on trading. Just trade the best setups, best prices, man. So those are some things that I would recommend. If you want to be a part of Traders Society, it is the first link down below in the description. I will see you guys tomorrow, and we'll be trading live. We're going to absolutely crush it.